So tonight I'm going to be talking about boundaries and the importance of boundaries, physical, emotional, mental and spiritual, and how they affect us every day in terms of the boundary of what we put out, and also in terms of what we receive or don't receive in. So for me it's always two ways. It's about what boundaries do we need about putting out in the world, and what boundaries do we need to stop things coming towards us. So just on the diagram here you see my little smiley man, and boundaries can come from anywhere. You know, they can come from the past, they can come from the present, they can also come from the future as well. So it's also good about being clear about how do we identify where we need the boundaries. So when we start looking at the physical boundary, it's where's my space? You know, have I got the physical space that I can own? I call it the real estate. Now, can we own the real estate around us in terms of that ownership? And for some people the boundary is really, really thin, and for some people it's a big boundary. Yeah. I remember a lady in Germany, a very old lady. I was sitting in a waiting room, and the lady said to everybody, "Stop breathing my air." And well, she was pretty clear about the boundary. Like, you know, get out of my space. This is my real estate. This is my air, and nobody else is going to breathe it. You know. Wow. And she said it in German, so it made it all more potent. Yeah. And she was probably in her 80s, but it really made sense to me in that moment. I went, wow. And the impact it had was everybody stood back and gave her space to breathe that air. And I saw this little wry smile on her face going, yep, you know, I've got my space. And that was, you know, 20 years ago, and I just remember that as the epitome of, you know, claiming space. So I do that a lot, I claim space. You know, people are a little bit close to me, I just back them off or back off, and just because I love the idea of having my own energy space. Because what happens when we mingle in space, then we have complications, and then we get into flight or fight syndrome, or freeze, I call it the freeze syndrome, where can't speak, you know, nothing's going on, the mind's gone blank, because the energy's being contaminated on some level, usually subconsciously. So we have to bring the subconscious and unconscious to the conscious. And tonight I've got some little toys in my bag, and we'll actually do some energy games as well, to get a sense of learning to feel what the boundary is. So just firstly, any questions, any topics in particular that you'd like me to cover tonight?
For me, it's when people project onto me. That's because I do run classes and things, or because I do have sometimes a strong profile on social media, I do feel the projection.
Absolutely.
And because I'm an empath also, I feel that very, I guess more strongly than someone who's not empathically sensitive.
Sure, And it's a big one, you know, when you put yourself out, you know, teaching or facilitating or putting yourself out in the public sphere, that projection will come. And quite often when people do that projection and you find that boundary, then you get a double projection. You know, they throw it back on you again as if it's your fault of why they didn't get in. You know, so boundaries can have a negative impact as well as a positive, even if we think we're strong. You know, I'm in my boundary and everything's great, but it's not always, because you get that double negative and it comes back again. Well, you know, I was being really nice to you, you put your boundary up and look what you've done to me. And then the person can fall back into the victim, or they can become a lot stronger and start the conflict. So we've got to be really conscious and cautious of using boundaries and boundary work, you know, particularly around projections. I always say intuition and projection is a very fine line. Because a lot of, you know, in the spiritual world, in the new agey, you know, thing, everybody wants to be intuitive, and quite often that intuition is not an intuition, it's a projection.
True.
You know? And it's really clear. A lot of people use the word intuition without even knowing what intuition really is, in my opinion. And a lot of it's about projection. And, you know, I thought you do this. Well, firstly, you never had permission to come into my field to feel in the first place. And that's the boundary. You know, as you know, you probably get people coming up with their hands on your shoulders. I can see your aura sort of holding it, I'm going to fix it for you.
And it's like, excuse me.
On many occasions I've said that, excuse me, I never gave you permission to
feel into my
or even come and work with me. So, you know, with your invitation, you can come in, but without my invitation. So I have a little saying that I use. If it's not invited, it's not allowed in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual. And if you think of the story of the three little pigs and the wolf, it's very much about boundaries.
Yeah.
The first little pig was just in the body, just with a little straw, and the projection, if you like, or the astrology, or the wolf came in and blew it down. So he went to the next little piggy, and they built it out of sticks. It was a bit stronger, so that was the body and the soul, and they still got blown down. And finally they got this solidity of the body, the soul and the spirit, and held everything. And then when the wolf tried to come down, they burned his energy up with fire, which is the self. So it's a really deep, old esoteric story where the meaning's been lost. And I share that, children's tale with adults, and it's a really powerful story metaphor for getting into our boundary. We have to build up from the bottom, the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, and really get a sense of holding ourselves in the core of our being. So everything about the boundary, for me, comes from what I call the I presence.
Being present, exactly.
So in terms of my background and my knowledge, I work with the work of Rudolf Steiner and anthroposophy, and Rudolf Steiner gave an indication, not only him but other leaders too, spiritual leaders, fourfold process. There's the physical, which we've got the physical body, then what I call the etheric body, which is like the chi energy, the life body, and then there's another body called the astrology, or the astral body, which very much is where all our habits, our desires and needs are caught up in the soul world. And what happens within the boundary world when we have a desire, that's really the astral work at play. And the only thing that can counter that and work with that is what I call the I. The I plans, or the sense of self. There's lots of different words for it.
And that's where will comes in.
And that's the will, because you can't have the will. The astral has got a will of its own, but it's usually a bit of a negative process for us. I mean, some desires are great, the desire to eat, the desire to drink, they're great desires to have, but when they get out of hand and they're not conscious, that's when we start getting into trouble with boundaries. Because the desire becomes so great that after a while it can become an addiction. And if we're not present in our own presence to deal with that, and I really call it the battle of the ego, the battle of the soul, the battle of the soul. And an image of that very much is St. George and the dragon. And in the original stories of St. George, he never actually slayed the dragon, killed it, because it's killing part of himself or part of the community. So he would stand over the dragon and tame it. St. Francis of Assisi with the wolf, same thing, he tamed the wolf. So he's taming that energy of that battle. And sometimes, we were discussing this earlier on, sometimes that battle of the will of, if you like, the astral self, or the desire self and the self, is really strong. And the I doesn't always win unless it's really, really strong. So it's about being conscious, about how are we going to deal with that boundary issue we have. So it's getting it, for me it's like getting a sense of where do I need to build my boundaries up, and where they're really strong, and then keep working on them constantly, physically. And what goes into our mouths? What are we eating? What are we drinking? There's a boundary for me. I call it the 80-20 principle, 90-10 principle for me. A little bit of stuff, a little bit of fish and chips and sweets and crisps, a little bit is okay. But if it's too much, the boundary's lost. And if it's 90-10 or 80-20, so we have to choose that boundary for ourselves. And I think it's really, really important.
True. I agree.
So on the physical level, most people get it. But when it gets into the emotional level, especially on the sort of sexual energy, male-female energy, that's when it gets really, really misty. And the key thing for me about boundaries is not so much about what we allow in, it's what we let out. And there's lots of people doing talks and workshops and things on boundaries, but mostly it's about what's coming towards us. How do we hold that? And actually forget the opposite, where we're projecting out. And for me, that's a lot harder to deal with because we're unconscious of it. A lot of people don't actually realise that they're giving out. And I think that's the thing to become aware of now. How do we become aware of what I'm giving out, physically, emotionally, mentally, sexually, intimately, financially, whatever level it is.
Yeah.
What can I take responsibility for?
Yeah.
And quite often the responsibility isn't there for 98% of the planet, not 99.9% of the planet.
That's right.
So how do we change it? This is the question. What do we need to do to bring ourselves in to understanding boundaries? And there's one main thing that I always bring into boundary work, and that's meditation.
Yeah.
Meditation, awareness. Can we become aware of self? The only way to begin to get aware of self is through meditation.
Yeah, true. I agree.
Into the breath, into the body, what's going on in the mind. Presence, can I still the mind?
Yeah.
So whether it's a sitting meditation, meditating, washing up, chopping the wood, hoovering, whatever it is, it's about being present of mind. So for me, one of the key things about boundary work is coming to meditation. So let's just take a moment now, just to bring ourselves in to ourselves, and really get a sense.
Because I feel like I'm up here at the moment.
Yeah.
But I'm up here a lot.
Yeah. And it's good to be there a lot, but it's also good to be in the body a lot, and the connection between the body and spirit. Because that's the boundary, isn't it? Like, how do we keep ourselves in our physical body consciously? Spiritual work for me isn't just about going out of our body, it's about staying in the body and connecting, so there's a groundedness as well. So bring yourselves into your body. And the biggest boundary we have, and the biggest organ on the body, is the skin.
Yeah.
It's the biggest organ on the body. And there's a layer inside the skin, and there's a layer outside the skin.
Yeah.
And that really thin little layer, a couple of millimeters, is the boundary for what goes out and what comes in.
Yeah.
And it's really good to become aware of it. So just take your hands at the moment, just feel your skin. You can feel as you come towards it, as you touch it.
True.
You can feel the boundary.
Yeah.
And if you become really soft about 2 or 3 millimeters away from the skin, not even physical contact, but you can probably feel that you're breaking through. Yeah. You're breaking through.
Yeah.
And many people aren't even aware of that boundary.
Yeah.
The skin boundary.
Yep.
So one meditative practice to do to get used to boundaries is simply just to put your hand on the other hand and just feel where the boundary is. And as you start working more and more, what you'll start to feel is the boundary starts to extend itself when you become more conscious and aware of it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, start somewhere around here and go, I can feel something. And then after a while they go, wow, actually, that's quite a big boundary. And when you really feel into it, start working with it regularly, you can start realising that, wow, my boundary feels probably half a metre or so.
Yeah.
And when people are in that, consciously, we can become aware of it.
Yeah.
But most people, especially in busy cities and places, they're constantly in each other's energy field.
Yeah.
And we wonder why there's so much conflict. So the first one really is the skin, it's the physical body.
Yeah.
And that's quite an easy one to get used to. And then, the etheric body is quite targeted with that, or the chi energy body. And that's where we start getting the challenge of, when we meet people, how do we learn to hold that energy field so that we're not entwined? And I've got some little tools here I'll get them out in a moment, and we'll actually have a little bit of a play and get a sense of what it's like to build up the energy field, and then what it's like when we overlap. What happens in that no man's land when we don't take responsibility for it? Yeah. 3 things happen. We go into flight syndrome, fight syndrome, or freeze syndrome. One of those 3 things have to happen if we're not conscious of it. Yeah. If we become conscious of that no man's land, we can make a choice of what we do with it. And we can actually be present in it. We can feel the fight or flight or the freeze, or we can overcome it with the I consciousness. It's not that desire to run or to fight. We can actually overcome desire with what I call the I presence. So all this work for me is about incarnating our I presence that brings in the will to overcome the projections, the reactions, the judgments, and all those things that happen in that space.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we move on to the spiritual one, of the spiritual boundary. You know, going to meditation, everybody wants to go out and connect with the cosmos and all the beings out there. Well, if you're not aware of it, firstly, if you haven't done training, to go there, which is a boundary. I think it's a really important boundary. You know.
I agree.
If you're in kindergarten, there's a certain level. You know, if you're in primary or high school or uni, certain levels of education. A bit like scuba diving and snorkeling. You know, you don't go 18 metres down without any scuba lessons. So I think, you know, spirituality in terms of boundaries is really important to have that boundary in the beginning of knowing how far we can take ourselves. Because it's easier to flip out and lose ourselves in the spiritual world. But once we have the training and the ability to go there, then we have to gauge that level of boundary. How far am I going to take myself on the journey? You know, it's incremental when we go there. So we can see the physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. Each one's got its own boundary and so on. So let's have a little bit of fun with it. And you know, kick two together. And we're going to get another two. And we're going to kick them together. And we're going to imagine this is our energy field.
I've done a fair bit of boundary work.
Fantastic. And we're going to just put it here like this, around you. And just imagine what it's like not to have a boundary there for a moment. And just walk around. And get a sense, I'm pretty protected on the side and the back. But as I'm walking around, there's a real openness in there. It feels strange, doesn't it? It's like, you know, the vulnerability, you know, sensitive people really feel that stirring up. And I was doing some mental work this week with men doing this. And the vulnerability space came up in my mind. I'm actually really open here because I'm not protected. And if you slowly just bring it slightly around, so get a sense of breathing, but then the back space is open.
True.
And you go, oh. That feels a bit wrong, especially on the kidney area. And that's a big sensitive area. And this is quite often what happens with people. You know, they're not aware of having no boundary. You know, a lot of people live in a victim space or don't have a strong boundary. And when there's a hole, and then what happens when two people meet, and there's no boundary, like anything can happen.
True.
Anything can happen. And then you go like, what's playing in there? And it's all subconscious. It's all going on, suddenly then you go, well, you said that, you did this, reaction, projection, and there's conflict. You know, especially, you know, in that sexual realm, it's really, really strong. So grab another one. And just plug it in. I'd love to teach children. Imagine going to this high school and doing this with kids, going, you know, we're going to teach you all about boundaries. And that just feels a little bit smaller. But it feels, you know, still a bit vulnerable.
I say it's cold. That's how I
there's a totally different energy. So from an etheric perspective, that's what happens. The etheric body is pretty warm and protected, but when it's vulnerable, what happens is it can feel, if you like, the astral desires at play. And the conflict between the etheric body, or the chi energy, and the astral body, a battle, is the whole thing about etheric energy is about building the body up and keeping us alive. That's what the etheric body does. If we don't have an etheric body, we're dead. And the astrality is about breaking everything down. You know, like in the gut, you know, which is great because it means things need to be broken down. But if it's too much, then the etheric body cannot then counteract that and we get sick. So a lot of sickness is around thin boundaries. A lot.
I agree.
Probably 80% of illness is around you know, not having that thick skin or that boundary, and then we just get depleted because the astral forces are too strong. So we have to stand in our eye power, you know, which is really hard if we haven't got an etheric body. So go another one. And it starts to feel better. It's like, I'm starting to feel like there's a, you know, still getting, you know, So just take your hand like this. And come towards me, and really, really slowly. Just move it in really, really slowly. And as you come in there, like it's like a knife. And I'll do it to you. And come in here. And it's, So you imagine if that's verbal, whether it's physical, whatever it is that's coming in, on an unconscious level, you're not ready for it, the damage that can do. You know, mentally, spiritually, physically, on every level. And it does every single day. You know?
It does.
Every day. So go on that. So it's really nice. And then just leave it here for a moment before you put it up. There's a little bit of a hole.
There is.
Still stuff. You know?
Well,
sometimes a little hole, it sort of vacuums in.
So
it's more intense.
You know?
And then as you bring it together. And then you might just want to rest it in your fingers and just... So these are a really good display of how we work with building up the energy. So you have a boundary. And to bring the awareness of it too. Because a lot of people don't have the awareness of our boundaries.
True.
And you know that we either let it on or we leak it out. And in this space, like I can't let it out. And there's a solid wall there. I'm unconscious, and also I can't let it in. So whatever you say or do is not going to have an effect on me because I'm in my bubble. You know? But what you find is, you know, when you get into it, you start realising it's not big enough.
It's not.
It's not.
No.
So grab some more. And build up until you feel on some level.
I like a lot of space.
So
I really do.
So build it up a fair bit so it's the physical and etheric energy rather than your cosmic energy or you know, because we could build it, you know, as big as the world. But just in terms of that life body energy, just build it up a little bit.
I like a really big one. Even people in the same house. Like I feel that. Like it's really. It's always been that way because I'm always very sensitive. So mine's going a bit.
One of the guys in I said it felt like a sled. Sitting in his head. Anyway, that's okay. And it sort of feels, like there's room to move in there.
And room to breathe.
And room to breathe, which is really important in boundary work, is a little bit of breathe. But what happens in this is, what I believe is, the stronger your boundary, the more freedom we have. Because there's not a constant worry about what I'm going to do anymore, because I know my boundary. You know? And if I know my boundary, there's so much freedom. Because I don't have to be concerned about it. Hey, no, that's not where I'm going. I'm clear. So I actually have a lot of freedom in my life because I'm really clear on boundaries. You know, other people I know are not very clear on the boundaries. They still seem like they don't have a lot of freedom. But they're always checking what they need to do. You know? I know there's a red light, I know I've got to stop. It's a great boundary. If I'm going to play and keep going to the traffic light, I'm going to be worried about hitting somebody or being hit. It's a constant fear.
True.
You know?
Totally agree.
So the stronger the boundary, the less fear, the less doubt, the lack of self-love is not there as much.
I agree.
We can be in ourselves.
You
know? So just for a moment, walk around and just feel what it's like to have a nice boundary. Feels good, like it's
great.
solid.
Yeah.
If the whole world could walk around with this big pieces of plastic for a week, you know, just to get a sense of each other, especially in buildings with the staff and the interactions people have to have. And then what you do is you get a sense of what happens in no man's land. So we're going to come up slowly, we're going to cross.
Okay.
And we're just going to feel going to each other's energy field. And then the story is what happens here. And most people are absolutely, totally unconscious of this play. And this happens, you know, 24/7, every day of the week, minute by minute, second by second. And we meet for all different reasons, you know, we pass people in the street or we have communication. And while we're communicating here,
that's underneath the surface.
This is going on. And what's the story? And there's always a story here. You know? And quite often what happens is, then it gets enmeshed and enmeshed, and as I go over you go over me as well. I go over you. And it becomes a mesh, and then we're in the story, fight or flight. You either hit me run away right now, or freeze. I'm just willing to do that. Just want to flee. And that's normal. So all we have to do, we have to learn to communicate and know where's that boundary.
I actually got a pain in my neck from that.
There you go. Because there was a sense of fleeing, wasn't there?
And I feel a bit sick in my stomach.
See, that happens all the time to people, unconsciously. Then they wonder why they're sick. You know, why they, continue taking pain.
And how quickly was that?
Yeah, and that happens all the time. We know each other.
Yeah.
So imagine if that was a stranger or whatever, it's even deeper. And then what happens usually is we go into recall memory. What happened in that same energy field as a child or as an adult, they recreate it, and then the body goes into that fight syndrome from an old memory.
Yeah.
When we're in here, we don't need that.
Yeah.
It's like I'm present. We don't have to go back in the past or into the future, just I'm present here.
Yeah, yeah.
But when we start doing this, we go, wow, there's a story.
Yeah,
And that story sometimes can be really pleasant, and sometimes not. And it can start off pleasant and end up not pleasant, or the other way around, So depending on what's being communicated. And if people are in this space, and they're not feeling very connected, I'm speaking, they're not hearing me. Really, it's not going in, because all the mind is saying is I want to run away, or fight, or freeze. So the key word for me in this is responsibility. So if the more you get to know me, you'll see me do it more and more and more often, because you'll be aware of it now. If I'm communicating with people, I often will do this. Physically, actually, put my hand out. Or I will just do this, or this. And I'll move sometimes just half an inch to get out of the energy field. And the thing you'll see is, the person will do this every single time they breathe. So it's about body awareness. So it's particularly in coaching and teaching and facilitation.
Yeah, because people aren't going to learn if they're trying to run away.
No, totally not. No, because there's no consciousness around it. So all we have to do is start to learn to read the energy field. What's actually happening in the space right now? Do I need to do this? Or this? And if I'm just sort of looking for here's like, that's too much. And all I've got to do is do that. And you go, and if I just do that, it's probably a bit too far.
I'm happy with that. I like a lot of space.
And there's like a big field here. But in there, it's like, no, I'm going to, I can feel it walk. You're going to follow me or run away. And the more we learn to do this in terms of the boundary work, the clearer we are, and the clearer the communication becomes. I see so often when people are communicating, the body language and the energetics behind it, they're just not in communication. So we really have to learn to say, okay, when can I take responsibility? And how we do that is by measuring it, gauging it, and stepping back and stepping in. So you have a practice with me. Just get a sense of where Adrian is in this energy field. I've got a pretty tough skin on the outside, but but on the inside it's not so tough. And you feel it. It's like I can come in there. And then there's a moment where I've got to go. He's going to beat me up. Because I'm not a fighter. So I stand my ground. I don't run, and that's to my engagement. But it's just my makeup, my build. I've learned to stand rather than run. My karate teachers say, Adrian, the best form of defence, don't be there. And it's true. Sometimes it's good to leave and get out of it, consciously.
True.
Rather than running away out of fear. Rather than fighting, just fighting. Doesn't always work either.
True.
But when you get into that space of recognising your own field and recognising other people's, communication takes on a whole new meaning. And boundaries take on a whole new meaning. And you can see it, you can smell it, you can taste it,
you
and
can
feel it. And as soon as that projection comes towards you, it's like, I've caught that. And I'm going to hold it. If I choose to throw it back, sometimes it's actually okay, I believe, to show somebody I'm not taking that. And give them that back and go, well, actually, that was a really, I think you projected that. Where do you get the information from? Where did you pick that up from? Because it's not my truth. Which is, it's that fine line between intuition, arrogance, surety, and reaction and projection. It's a very fine line for me. Sometimes I can be really sure and perhaps a little bit seemingly arrogant, but I also feel very clear in that. So I'm okay with it. If I'm not wishy-washy, I'm just clear. Actually, no, that's not happening. It doesn't feel right for me. And I think it's okay to express that.
I agree. One boundary issue that I know that I have is to do with sexual energy with men. And it's not, it does happen like in the present, but it also happens through energetics. and I feel that. And because I'm receptive as well, I feel it quite strongly, and it's almost like as soon as I'm worried, I've already sent back, and I kind of go, oh, like, okay, and I'm really, present, and I'm trying to just, and I can still feel it coming in. So that's, something that I'm trying to address and looking at working on. But it's also on like a higher sort of level. It's not like I'm flirting and sending sexual energy in the present. It's like over distance.
So there's a few things on that. One is that need or desire to procreate, which is just a human condition. So there's always going to be a mating attraction. Men and women.
And what the men say is that's a smell. They smell me and I smell attractive. And that's something that's just happened. So there is a bit of that in there.
And that's, especially if you don't wear perfume and things. My wife, she doesn't wear perfume. So like I smell it all the time. A lot of women dampen that down with other perfumes. And that confuses men. Because we've lost that sensory connection. And it's like, I'm getting all the signs, but there's no smell, or I'm getting some, aromatic smell that's been designed to turn me on, because that's what perfume is designed to do. So then, the woman's wearing a beautiful Chanel that's, going to have sensory overload. So I go into sensory overload and go, wow, what's the next lead on to sensory overload? Well, it's probably, the sexual connection. So then a woman goes, well, what's going on? Well, you just bombarded me with Chanel number 9. Oh, that's why, and that's why women wear it subconsciously. It is for that attraction, to be noticed, to be perceived, or to be smelled. And then when men do it, and then it's not received, then the men get confused and go like, well, I'm getting all the sensory messages, but verbally I'm getting turned off. So what's going on for us? So it's quite challenging, particularly from men on that level. Then on the other level, it's for men to become responsible for what they give out. And checking it out, like, is there really a sexual attraction there? Or is there not? Like, let's check, is it a projection? Is it some need, some longing? And it's not even a woman, it's something, some old memory. So it's good to be clear about it. And the best way to be clear about it is to do this exercise. And then what's happening here? What's the story? So two things I always do when I meet people. I check this energy out, check my own energy, and then I go, what's the story? And then I go, okay. Because that's the story. That's responsible. That's it. Just try that. I see. I create a story.
Okay.
It's about Adrian. Anything you like. Don't tell me that. Just pick it.
Okay. What kind of story?
Any story you like. Don't mind. I'm sure if you like. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Just a story.
All right.
Anything. And come in. And feel the story. And then take yourself out of the story. Feel the power of that. Back to present. Because what happens all the time is we just get into the story.
We do.
Subconscious story. She's too big, she's too fat, she's too thin, she's too rich, she's too poor, too tall, too small. Like story. And while that's going on, I'm not communicating with you. I'll just go, maybe we can stop the story. There's a human being in front of me. And really, I think it's that simple, but we have to practice. It's a daily practice for me. I think for the last 20+ years, every day. But it's getting quicker. It's a nanosecond now. I'm in, story, out. I'm in, it's story, it's out. And I do it, on the physical plane. And then I have some clarity. Then I go into the energetics of it. Okay, what's playing out energetically? And then what's the bigger connection? Are we connected on this level? Sometimes we are, sometimes we're not. That's okay. Sometimes it's just a physical connection. It's a handshake and it's thank you very much for the business. But at another level, it's like, well, we've actually got something here. Energetically. And then to learn to read that and see what that is. So the boundary can be, really quite a profound journey in understanding it. When we we can do the primary school stuff on boundaries and sort of get to know the physical stuff, and then we can go beyond that and say, well, what's the bigger boundary? What's my boundary up here in the spiritual world? What am I taking on up here? And that's a whole new one. Put your hip up. I think it's a big, big 7th crown chakra opening up there, it's pretty big. And that's pretty wide. I feel it coming all the way down, just bring your hip down. feel the containment of that.
Yeah.
Contain. And what happens when we do that, when we bring ourselves down and in, we become really grounded.
Yeah. True.
More and more. We don't have to go out.
Yeah.
For me, it's about, I'm not coming out anymore, it's about coming in.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
bringing that energy down.
Yeah.
Rather than us trying to meet it.
Exactly.
Invite it in.
Yeah.
And if it's, it's invited, it's allowed in.
Yeah.
And then when you stand in this space of, white light energy or, lots of names for it, we can bear pain in it. And then if I step forward, and the other person steps forward and we cross, and we can meet, there's not much story.
No.
Because that's clear energy.
Yeah.
That there's no story.
Yeah.
So we can still have the no man's land, but it's clear.
Yeah.
You can probably feel it. It's actually...
Yeah, it's light. That's what I see then.
Yeah, it's just a light energy that's connected and that connects two human beings together.
Yeah.
And then we can choose to step out of that.
Yeah.
And still be present. But if you go back to Adrian's orange shirt again, and I go back to the story about your earrings, and then we step in.
Yeah.
No meeting.
Yeah.
And then we step out.
Yeah.
And it's still a disconnect from some level. And we have to sort of bring ourselves back in again.
Yeah.
So these are amazing teaching aids.
Yeah,
in terms of getting the sense of what it is. And as you take it off, it feels a bit weird to start with.
Yeah.
And then you just go, no, actually I don't need the plastic, energy field, I can create my own.
Yeah, true.
And I'm going to practice it. And it feels that the temperature sort of drops, you take it off.
Yeah.
You get, or we can learn to do it
So,
again.
like I've been working on boundaries for a long time, and mindful of them, and like in a different way to what you're describing here. So how do you suggest working with people who are really difficult and who encroach all the time, and that's just their style?
I would get 7 of these. I would build it and I'd put it over them and say, oh, this is 5 minutes.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, how you deal with that is takes responsibility for yourself more and more and more, and quite often learn to voice it. I think the strongest boundary we can have as human beings is to voice something.
Yeah.
No. So part of what I teach is, and training programs is, how do we hold that energy? You can imagine, 20 or 30 guys in a room, and I'm facilitating, the projections I get.
Yeah.
It's huge.
I still get it in the social club.
Of course, we get it all the time. All the time. Because, we put ourselves on this pedestal, and everybody wants to do the chop our legs off and talk poppy syndrome down.
Yeah.
And so there is a constant. And if we let it in, if I let that space in, and if I let those reactions, projections in, my astrality gets bigger, my etheric body shrinks, my eye shrinks, and probably I won't turn up next week.
Yeah.
And then eventually it just won't happen. So we really have to learn to do that, holding our space, recognising what it is, and removing ourselves from the story ourselves. And then on some level it dissipates it. And if we don't react back, the people who are used to that reactive way of life, they suddenly go, wow, the ripple's changed. They're either going to get really irate or they get calm, one or the other. Quite often irritation comes up first, because it's a different vibration going, that's not supposed to happen, it's supposed to be, back at me. But if we stay calm, working with teenagers is great, if we learn to stay calm, instead of reacting, teenagers go, what's going on? That's right, Or the opposite, if you're really usually calm, occasionally just, hey, you can't do that, it's enough to change the energy as well. So sometimes it's about changing the dynamic, especially with business and friends and people. How do we change it? Dynamic? We change the story. And we take the story away. So it's so just another little great little one. And this is a great little game. So start this one now. This is a great one to do. Get some little beanbags and just learn to do this. Kids is great. But just in terms of feeling something coming into your energy field, you just go back a little bit, just a touch. I'm going to get you to throw the ball to me slowly, just underarm, throw it, aim for here. And I'm going to do the same for you, and you're going to catch it. And feel when it comes through your energy field as you go. Like it's, and keep going. I'm going to do this again. I'm going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to start at the same time. 1, 2, 3. So aim for here. Begin. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You get a sense of when it comes towards you.
I'm feeling that.
Yeah. And there's a tendency for you to go way back, isn't
it?
Yeah. So a lot of people, in terms of boundaries, and we're also quite close here, but when it comes in, it's just the energy of it is enough sometimes to knock people back a couple of metres because they're not used to being conscious of things coming in. This little exercise is just brilliant for learning to stay still. So just for now, I'm going to get you to put your feet down like this. Imagine you've got 2 6-inch nails through them, super glue, super good for business painting.
Okay.
And just be there. And as the ball comes towards you, really try not to move your feet and see what it feels like. It's pretty strange. 1, 2, 3. See if you keep your body still too. Really, without dropping into the ball. Let the ball come to you. 1, 2, 3. And again, see if you can really stay. 1, 2, 3. Keep your body still. 1, 2, 3. It's not easy, is it? You feel your whole body going into... Into
it's like shockwaves.
Yeah, it is, So you imagine if you're in a room full of people... And you're being projected up, even on a subconscious level, it comes in. And then you finish a workshop, you finish a training, sometimes totally exhausted, unless you can stay in that space. And a lot of people feel exhausted. And energy workers in particular, burnout, because they haven't learned to absorb or to reject all that projection, reaction, judgments, whatever's coming to them. Because on some level it's got to get in, unless you've got this absolute, plastic ring of rainbow around you, energetically to say, you're not invited, you're not coming in. And a great way to do it is learn to stay still, all the time, just be really conscious of the body. Because every time we move forward or backwards, there's either a fight or a flight. Fight or a flight. So the more we're still present, and we can see it coming towards us, and catch it as coming towards us and feel confident about catching it. And if you practice this every day, especially when you're teenagers, and just do 10 minutes a day, what it'll do in terms of building up your boundary is amazing. Huge.
So just a question then, like when we're talking about when the projection's coming in and you said when you feel it and you just go no, that's your story or that's your projection, how do you just like energetically just go no and then that's it, or is there some kind of like little energetic boundary that you...
Usually I'll pick it up in the body language.
Like what if there's not a distance? What if it's a distance thing?
It can be really distant, you still feel it. So
how do you do that though?
Usually verbally. For me, I think verbal is the most powerful defence we have.
So you just say no?
I say no, or I probe sometimes, I question. Because when we question people, we disarm them. So remember that? When we question, we disarm them.
What kind of question though? Around what you've just felt?
Totally. It could be, give an example, might be, you said, he said, like you said, he said, you said, you said, you said, you said. That's really common. Like when you did that, you said. And I usually diffuse that straight away by going, well, let's just take a moment, let's go back to the situation, and really get a sense of what was really going on. What was really going on? Yes, I know that it was verbal, I know we were both loud. But what was actually going on? And if I just say it in that manner, in that voice, it diffuses it. And it's a question. Because in a question, they come out of the emotion and go back into the intellect. And it's hard to be anything in the intellect except for rational. So I take them out of the emotion by going to the intellect. Because if we stay in the emotion, it's just going to feel, I'm going to get louder, they're going to get louder. So we break the cycle, and change the story. Same thing, what's the story? The story is right now, blame. So let's take the blame away, bring it back to the rational, and say, okay, let's just go back to that for a moment. It was yesterday, in the afternoon, we were both tired, and, I was, totally get it, I was not being present, I really apologise for that. However, let's look at what was behind it. What was going on. And then you might go, well, it started because you said.
And then you go.
And then I go, well, let's have a look at what it was that I did say. And why I said it, what was I feeling? Well, I was actually feeling threatened at the time, or I was feeling unheard. So maybe now we can find some space and find some common ground where we can meet again and have some rules around how we communicate again. Perhaps the language isn't the same, like I'm coming from here and you're coming from here, or vice versa. We're not going to meet. the rational mind and the heart mind, they're two different levels of communication.
Yeah.
And the only way we can move beyond that in terms of the boundary is be clear about our own boundary.
Yeah.
Who do I want in my circle? Literally, who do I want in my energy space? Do I want this energy? Do I want, like I'm really clear at home. We have a no drug and alcohol policy at home. A really clear, big, thick rainbow, plastic around the home. And there's no booze or alcohol or cigarettes on the property. Yeah. And it's a clear boundary for you, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, about every boundary. And a great way to practice is to imagine we're walking around with our rules and regulations within our field. Yeah. And then when we meet, well, what's going on? Yeah. I need to step back, I need to come in, I need to go here, I need to go here, I need to meet on this level, or this level, or this level. Yeah. And then it's really, really clear. Yeah. So just go back to this, I'm going to do something with you. Alright. we're going to count to 3, and we're going to keep it going.
Do you want me to throw that to you?
Yeah, at the same time. So we're going to 1, and on 3 we're going to release. Okay. Aim for here. And if you put your hands back here, yeah, 2 hands, so as it's coming towards you, yeah. If you put your 2 hands here, if you miss it, it'll drop into your hands. Okay. So really
I'm not afraid to throw it.
You will be. Because what it is, throwing and catching is boundaries. Yeah. Kids who can't throw and catch very well, it's because they've had a boundary violated at some point. So a great therapy, a great thing to work with, particularly abuse, is little soft walls. Women who have been abused, this is, do this 10 minutes a day and get them to learn to stand without being violated. It's a great healing process. Okay. It's a really beautiful, I use this a lot in my work. Wow. It's just simple. And I can have a circle of people and pretty much straight away I get a sense of whether people are fighters or flighters or freezers or, whether they've had something because they just go straight in an interview and they just go, ah! Yeah. Freak out. Some people freak. And that day, obviously some violations happened at some point because, and it's only a little ball. Yeah. But it represents so much more. Yeah. So let's count to 3. Okay. And on the count 3 we're going to swap. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oops. 1, 2, 3. Keep your body really still. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And on the count of 3 next time, keep going. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And when I get to 3 next time, we're going to close your eyes. 1, 2, 3. Really? Yeah, 1, 2, 3. And close your eyes. Do that. Okay. So open again. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now close. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So what did it feel like with the eyes closed? The initial one? First one?
Yeah, it felt like it was closer before I felt it actually.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So the awareness around that, with your eyes closed, because when we close our eyes and we're used to the rhythm, then we know when it's coming. Yeah. And what we can learn to do that is interact with it before it gets in. So this is a great exercise, especially with the eyes closed, because it teaches us to feel energy. Yeah, because not everybody sees energy, but we can feel it. We're sensing it a little bit in different ways. So when people are coming towards you, energetically, and you sort of tune into it, I'm not saying that close your eyes on it, but you'll feel them coming in. And you get used to it, you go, okay, I need to be a bit more protective here, or a bit more open here. There's a lot of things in the New Age word about opening up to bliss. I think it's crazy. Yeah. Honestly, because a lot of the people I know who are working on their own, they haven't done any boundaries. Yeah. And they wonder why they're getting sick, why they're getting tired, why they're being ripped off, why they're signing up for programs they should never be doing. Especially people who are, learn to manipulate others. Right. There are techniques in the world today. Yeah. But, they train people to manipulate. Yeah, they do. And if people haven't got a strong boundary, then they become the victim of that person's game. Yeah. And I think that's unethical.
I totally agree.
Yeah, totally unethical. So I love it when people, try it on. They come down, they sit down and go, 25 minutes to try and sell me something, and in the end they go, no, actually, I need to discuss this with my wife because she's away for a few days. Yeah. You can see them sweating, and like, but I had this guy, the paper was almost in the same. How come he didn't sign up? I did, I ticked every single box for my training, and he still didn't sign up. What went wrong? Yeah. What went wrong was I was conscious. Yeah. I didn't play a story. I was aware of what he was trying to sell me. Yeah. And just had a boundary. Then fall in love with women at the traffic lights, every time they stop at the red light, there's a woman who can't come. Do you know that?
Wow, no, I didn't know that.
The truth. Ask any man that he speaks the truth, sitting at the traffic lights, you know, Pajero turns up, she's there, and the store's there, between the two cars. He's taken her home, he's made love to her, he's probably married her, you know, and there's a story. And then the traffic lights change and it's gone.
Yeah.
But there's a story.
Wow.
Almost always with men, unless they're really conscious of stopping the story. It's tough. I mean, I sit at the traffic lights and it's like, you know, like I know the story there.
And I think they're going, stop looking at me!
Yeah, and they do, don't they?
Yeah. True.
True. And women sit in the Pajero, you know, in the cars, and the guy's there, and they get it, and the fear for some women is huge, especially if they've been abused.
Yeah.
It's like, is he going to follow me around the corner?
Yeah.
Especially if she turns left and he turns left suddenly. It's like,
you know, I
just had that thought.
I feel that sometimes when I'm in the room alone with another man and he has that little predatory energy, I literally do feel like, wow, he could rape me right now.
Yeah. There's a friend of mine, a female friend of mine, she said, subconsciously women do, the first thing they do when they meet a man, they look at his hands. Right, subconsciously. I don't know how true it is, but she convinced me it's true. The women look at men's hands, is he can hit me or love me?
Wow.
Take his hands, because he's capable of both.
Yeah.
So they always check it energetically, they physically look at hands, but in the sense of energetically, is that a hitting hand or is that a loving hand?
Yeah.
And you know, the more conscious women become of that, they can probably stop a lot of violence. The more they tune into that. Because they will, they pick that energy up, you know, if they're really up into it, they go, what's the story? Is this man safe? Is he a basher or is he a lover? You know, because we're all capable of both.
Yeah.
You know, but have we got it contained?
Yeah.
Because I'm just as capable of straining my woman as I am of loving her.
Yeah.
But I make the choice to love her instead of straining her.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like straining her perhaps.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I'm projecting in a projection. And sometimes it's like, oh, just shut up, you know?
Yeah.
But because I've overcome that, it's safe.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot to overcome it. So yeah, you know, back to the traffic light thing, you know, women can sit there and feel violated. And they are. Energetically, they're being violated.
True.
And as men, we have to stop it. You know, we have to learn to stop it. I'm guilty as the next man, but I'm a little bit further down the track because I've learned this process.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying, you know, all men need to learn this process, but something. You know, get out there and learn to stop looking. You know, and it goes a bit like this. I was explaining to you a bit earlier. You know, you're in a cafe, drinking coffee, beautiful woman's walking towards you, smile, say hello, acknowledge she's beautiful if you need to, you know, in a non-sexual way. It's like smelling a rose in the botanical gardens, it's beautiful. But then, when she walks past, don't follow her home. You physically have to do this. I'm not looking, I'm not going to look. And it feels like that, honestly, for any man. In his honesty, it's like that. And if you actually physically put your hand and do the battle, it's really hard not to follow. But we have to learn not to do it, because it's a violation from my perspective, energetically. Not because of the look, because it's like looking at a beautiful object or beautiful rose or beautiful horse or whatever.
Yeah, the energy.
It's the story.
Yeah.
It's the story that we attach to it.
Yeah.
You know, if you just, you know, with the eyes following, go, oh, what a beautiful, you know, looking woman. She was really quite beautiful. She had beautiful clothes on, and you know, look at the way she walks. It's an observation. But when it becomes story, and suddenly you know you're undressing her and you're taking her home and you're following her down the street, that's a violation because it's a story. So I think it's great to honour and to be alive what's in the present, but not to tell the story because it's fabrication.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to happen.
No.
And it's fabrication. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
It's a waste of energy and it's a violation. So when we say we don't violate women, we do it all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
And I think it's wrong.
Yeah.
It has to stop.
Yeah.
So you know, the more men get this, and for any men listening, you know, if you're going to do one thing, you know, learn to do this. And don't take it home.
Yeah.
Don't take it home. You know, and that's powerful. That's a boundary. You know, so boundaries, you know, really, 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 really important thing to learn. And what I find in a lot of people who are particularly working in the personal development, spiritual development realm, the one key ingredient often missing is the boundary work.
I agree.
Really, really missing.
Yeah.
It's a huge component.
Yeah.
That's missing out. People just miss that point of what personal boundary space is and honouring other people's boundaries, you know. And
absolutely.
it's a huge, you know. For me, it's like it should be one of boundaries should be a key component of any training.
Yeah.
You know, even back to high school and kids.
Kids. Yeah. Totally.
Because that's lost as well. A lot of parenting. There's not many boundaries.
Not at all. Not even modelling with boundaries.
No, absolutely. So the key thing for me, and I'll reiterate and say it again, is when I have a big boundary and a strong boundary, and I have lots of freedom.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing for me is that freedom.
Yeah.
I know where I'm going, I know what I'm doing, I have space to move.
Yeah.
I'm not in fear, I'm not in doubt. I love myself in that space.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about self.
Yeah.
And I can just go through the world with that clarity. And for me, you know, the boundaries and the clarity go hand in hand. You know, thin boundary, no boundary, no clarity.
Yeah.
Big boundary, big strong boundary, lots of clarity. And I can go forward with clarity. So, thank you for an evening on boundaries.
Thank you. Yeah.
And the little hoops at the front.
Because, you know, I've looked at boundaries and it's something I've been working on for years, like 7 years or something, or longer. And constantly I'm working on it myself, you know, and self-boundaries too with me, like my own behaviour.
Yeah.
You know, my own patterns and my own addictions and all of that.
Yeah.
Like it's on that level too. And to be honest, I think you are probably the only person who has ever stepped up. And I've talked with a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that's saying something.
Yeah. Like it's a study in itself.
Yeah.
Like it's like any study. You know, if I study chess or fishing or whatever, you've got to spend time at it, and you know, you have the beginning process where you learn the basics.
Yeah.
And then if you stay with it and stay with it, you know, you can learn more and more. I've been on this subject of boundaries for, you know, pretty much 30 years of my life. You know.
Yeah.
I was you know, drugs, alcohol, pornography, gambling.
Yeah.
You know, I've got that sort of addictive energy in me. So I've had to learn self-discipline. I've had to learn boundaries myself, you know, and sexual energy too. I've had to really have a good table, you know, particularly, you know, in my marriage with Eileen, it's important for both of us.
Yeah.
So I've really had to be clear about what those boundaries are.
Great.
And so it's a work in progress, but it's not about just talking about it, it's about putting it into practice.
Doing it,
So,
me too.
You know, so I would reiterate, you know, if you're going to do boundary work, practice and practice and practice.
Yeah.
And even to the point where by yourself some village, you know, and physically walk around and get a sense of what it feels like.
Yeah.
Get some, you know, some balls and do the ball game.
Where did you get those from?
They're just in most toy shops. You know, I think these are just juggling balls. You know, they've just got. You can make them yourself if you know. They've just got beans in them.
Yeah.
But they're nice and soft and everything. You can get to the place. What I do when we do more of the advanced work, we use copper rods. So they're 900 mil, little 15 mil copper with bungs on the end. So you learn to throw them upright, so they actually fly to the room upright like this, two at once. You catch them, you can go up to about 15 metres and throw them across the room with your eyes closed and catch them.
Wow.
And learn to feel, because copper's got a good energy to work with.
Yeah.
So you can throw the copper across the room.
Yeah.
And really feel that boundary being by pointed copper. And when you feel it coming from 15 metres, catch it in your hand. What a great feeling.
Yeah.
So it's more like here than in here.
Yeah.
You're still in the energy field. So I would highly recommend doing the exercises. A lot of it. Sadly, what happens is people get into reading books and doing the intellect, and they go, yeah, I know this stuff. And
they don't live it.
But then when they come to live it, it's like, why am I constantly being in charge? Why am I constantly in conflict? Why am I constantly in this space? Well, because it's not practiced. So for me, it's about taking it into the intellect. So we think it, and then we feel it, and then we do it. So it's a thinking, feeling, willing process.
Yeah.
We think, we create it here, take it into our space, then we have to do it. It's like dum dum, dum dum, dum dum, dum dum, dum dum, dum dum.
Yeah.
And then have the three things. But if we don't bring the will into play,
then
we don't incarnate the I process.
Yeah.
And then the astrology takes over, the desire takes over, and then we wonder why we just get into trouble.
Yeah.
Especially when it's fueled by things like alcohol that takes us out of consciousness.
Yeah.
We talk about lecherous sort of sexual energy, you know, as soon as guys have had a couple of beers, you know, the barmaid is everybody's lover, you know, everybody's going to go home, and, you know, the barmaids, you know, to their credit, they really put up that energy field and go, you know.
True.
And they're pretty strong. Barmaids are great at it.
Yeah.
Because they've had to learn it because of that lecherous male drunken behaviour.
Yeah.
And it's awful to watch.
It is, yeah.
It's horrific, you know. It's horrible to watch.
Yeah.
And yet, you know, it still continues every day. You know? And then sadly what happens is because the conscience not there, then we end up with rape situations and domestic violence situations. Because it's the guys are gone, you know. It's, and that's really sad. That needs to stop.
Yeah.
You know? And the only way, from my perspective, to stop it is to take personal responsibility for our own boundaries.
Yeah.
So on that note, I'll stop. You know, I can go on for hours and days and weeks on boundaries. It's such a broad, huge topic.
Yeah.
But it was great to share that here
this
evening.
Thank you.
For the Love Light house. It was just been great to be here and really enjoyed it. And we'll be back for more.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for listening, and I really hope you got something out of listening and seeing what we did here tonight. Thank you.